A very warm welcome to IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 13. I'm Ritwika Gupta. Now, India's demographic edge offers a once-in-a-generation opportunity, but unlocking it requires systematic investments in youth skilling and women's economic participation. Tonight, we explore how India, the world's most populous nation, can place social equity and grassroots innovation at the heart of its economic agenda. I'll be in conversation with Andrea Wojnar, India resident representative and Bhutan country director, United Nations Popular Fund, to see how India can redefine inclusive growth. Andrea, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much, Ritwika. I'm delighted to be here with you.
Now, Andrea, India has one of the youngest working populations globally. Tell us, how can we better align this demographic strength with quality employment, skilling opportunities and entrepreneurship to truly unlock the potential of our youth?
Yeah, thanks. Absolutely. India's growth story is a remarkable one, and its future really does rest on the shoulders of the youth, as you pointed out, since it's the world's largest youth population. But this demographic dividend won't pay off on its own, and it won't pay off just through skilling or employment. What it really demands is even more foundational investments in young people. And the first one is to equip them with foundational life skills, as we call it. And that means more than just employability. It's about building their confidence. It's about building their negotiation ability. It's their emotional resilience. And it's about their decision-making skills that will allow them to navigate relationships and make informed choices and really transition into adulthood in this rapidly changing world. So in my experience with youth around the country, I've really seen that when they are given this kind of training and education in foundational life skills, they have a completely different sense of confidence. They have increased abilities to maneuver within the workplace, and they really are much more future focused. So that's the first thing that has to happen to really empower youth.
Right.
The second would be even more foundational. It's about making sure girls in particular have autonomy and support to remain in school, to remain in those training programs that will shape their future. And to do that, in reality, in this context, it means protecting them from early marriage, of which at least 25% of the country is still exposed, sexual exploitation and abuse, which remains a major problem, and unintended pregnancies. So it's about investing in youth-friendly services. It's about making sure girls and boys have access to reproductive health services and information. It means access to contraception and really access to safe spaces where young people can take charge of their lives from an early age so that they can make those great choices, and the investments that are made in them for education and skilling really do pay off.
While India is now the most populous country in the world, fertility rates are declining in several states. Tell us, what does this mean for the future development priorities in terms of regional planning, health infrastructure, and inclusive economic growth?
So every state deserves its investments that reflect its unique demographic realities and development path. So again, it's about family planning that is reaching those in the far corners of the country. It's making sure each category of person has access to information and resources
Sure.
to serve their reproductive intentions. So whether it's having one child, two children, or none at all, This is really key to upholding those rights.
Now, Andrea, only a fraction of India's MSMEs are women-led. From your vantage point, what structural or policy-level shifts are most urgently needed to unlock greater economic participation for women across sectors?
Yeah, thanks so much, Ritwika. For me, this is really the untapped resource. If we talk about gender equality, despite strong progress in education, India's female labor force participation is amongst the lowest globally. It's just around 30 or 35%. And although women are often highly qualified, they're still grossly underrepresented in formal paid work here in India. About 88% of working women are employed in the informal sector, and only about 8% of working women get regular wages or salaries. And so what does that mean? It means the rest are casual laborers or self-employed. They're often without contracts or social protection or maternity leave, or even safe from harassment. So quite a lot needs to change, and India is not alone in that. First, it's if we want to unlock this untapped female labor force, the first is working to increase women's participation in the formal economy. And how to do that? We know what the answers are. It's a question of really prioritizing those investments in more gender responsive skilling. It's about equal pay. It's about workplace protections and really engaging with more women in leadership positions to show the way and to create those role models. Second, it's about creating conditions for men and women to have women stay and thrive in the workforce. It's expanding childcare, it's expanding parent and elder care, because we know that women, particularly here in India, take on the great burden for elder care and for childcare. It's about parental leave, not just maternity leave, but also paternity leave. Because in reality, if we want to reduce the number of hours women spend every day doing household chores, somebody's got to pick up the slack. And if men aren't free to pick up that slack, and if men aren't free to engage in more child care, and if men aren't free to perform other roles than they've traditionally been performing, there's really no other answer. So that's why we say parental leave is so important. It's not just maternity leave, it's also about paternity leave.
Absolutely.
It's about flexible work arrangements. I think we all learned a lot from COVID, taught us that we can have remote work, we can have teleworking, and we can have flexible hours. And it's finally about safe transport. So those are some key issues in the workplace. As far as entrepreneurial activity for women, it's about really improving their access to finance, credit, and digital tools, really making sure last mile connectivity exists for them.
It's time for a quick break here. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Welcome back to IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 13. Tonight I'm in conversation with Andrea Wojnar of the United Nations Population Fund on how India can turn its demographic edge into inclusive growth through youth skilling, women empowerment and social equity. Listen in. Andrea, you have long advocated that reproductive rights and economic empowerment go hand in hand. Can you expand on how this can contribute to business productivity and workforce stability?
Sure. Reproductive rights and sexual and reproductive health go hand in hand with strong economies. And we've seen that India has achieved a really stunning demographic shift from nearly 6 children per woman in 1960, so 85 years ago, to just 2 today. And this has happened through voluntary informed choices and by further expanding the contraceptive choices, especially through long-acting reversible methods, which my organization and others are helping the government to do, it strengthens bodily autonomy. And how does it do that? By enabling people to access long-acting methods that are reversible, it particularly helps young couples who want to delay childbearing while they're improving their education or their skills, and while they're developing their careers. And this is so important to really make good use of the investments in the skilling and education, and to attract and retain particularly women in the workforce.
And what role do you see for grassroots innovation, especially among women and youth, in terms of driving development outcomes that go beyond GDP? How can we empower these change makers?
Okay, I have a couple good examples. One of the really innovative things that India is doing is women and girl-friendly gram panchayats across the country through the Ministry of Panchayati Raj. And I say that this is really innovative because India is one of the few countries in the world that has taken the Sustainable Development Goals measurement all the way down to the grassroots level. And these women and friendly girl panchayats, which are being rolled out across the country, there are about 770 right now being piloted. And they embed gender concerns into the village planning. So they're prioritizing girls' education, they're ending child marriage, they are improving women's mobility and access to services. And the results are already tangible. We're seeing child marriage-free panchayats, we're seeing 100% school retention for girls, and we're seeing a much more equitable gender structure within the panchayat leadership. Another model that is really excellent is the Mission Shakti program in Orissa. This is a large-scale partnership we have with the government to support 600,000 self-help group women who are trained as what are called Digi-Shaktis, and they are digitally empowered to bridge information and the opportunity gap in their communities. So they receive training in financial literacy, and others are trained in to be champions of sexual and reproductive health and rights, to address violence and harmful practices and discrimination at the village level. So this is a really ambitious program, working through 600,000 self-help groups. And as you can imagine, the number of women in each self-help group is large. This is really a large percolation out of this capacity building and norm shaking, if I can say, norm destabilization. But it's all about closing the gender and the digital and the financial gap that women face at grassroots level.
Now, in a world grappling with geopolitical conflicts, trade wars, and shifting alliances, how can India's business leaders build the agility to adapt, the ambition to expand, and the resilience to ascend?
Yeah, I have no doubt that India's business leaders are capable of generating more wealth. They understand the markets, they understand the technologies, they understand what to do. But really, the uncertainty of today's world is calling for a new kind of leadership. And that's a leadership that invests in people,
Sure.
and especially women, as really key to long-term business resilience and growth. As I said, women are the untapped resource in, I think, in any business. If you had that much wealth sitting under a rock that wasn't being used, we would all say, what's going on? You know, that doesn't make any business sense. And in terms of really harnessing that untapped resource. It's about adapting workplaces to the needs of employees and particularly of women.
So, in line with the 2025 State of the World Population Report, what can India teach the world about balancing economic growth and social equity?
India has transitioned. Although it's unequal, fertility is stable in India. So, really, the next challenge is going to be turning this demographic maturity into equitable development. And really, that's the term there. Equitable development is going to make the difference for India. Um, there are lots of programs that the government has undertaken
Right.
that are beginning to bear fruits, and we see it, whether it's the RKSK, National Adolescent Health Program, or the School Health and Wellness Program. India took a very smart decision to empower its adolescents. And that may not seem very surprising or innovative, but not all countries have reached that decision and have really targeted adolescents the way India has. So it's helping adolescents, these kinds of school and in and out of school programs are helping adolescents become much better equipped to make the kind of decisions they need to make, to have, as I said, the confidence and to make healthy choices that impact their futures, including how well they will age. And we know from research, it's increasingly important, the nutrition, the environmental factors that surround young people, how these then are interpreted or how these then play a role in how well they age and how successfully they age, which is, of course, important for any country, their health and well-being, but also in terms of what it costs a government to respond to the needs of those older populations. The other issue is India has made incredible progress on reducing maternal mortality. It's dropped by over 70% in the last 20 years. And I'm really pleased to say that India will undoubtedly reach the Sustainable Development Goal target by the deadline, if not before. So this is a powerful testament to how a rights-based approach to reproductive health can fuel development, but also be a stimulator to economic progress. And I think what's important for India and what Indians should know is India can offer the world a model of how to scale rights-based reproductive health to support broader development goals, meaning reducing poverty, closing gender gaps, and creating healthier, more productive societies at such a large scale. So if India can do it, certainly smaller countries can do it as well.
Right.
But the message is really clear. Economic growth is strongest when it's built on social justice and individual rights. And you asked about our State of the World's Population Report 2025, which talked about the real fertility crisis. And the report is clear. The fertility crisis is not about too many or too few children or people in the world. It's really about making sure that everybody in each country is able to achieve their fertility goals, whether it's a 0, 1, 2, or as many children as they desire. That's really the challenge for India and other countries in the world, because to be perfectly honest, no country has achieved optimal fertility achievement in terms of individual desires and individual goals. And that's really the next frontier. That's the next policy challenge for India and other countries.
And finally, as we look ahead to 2040, what would you say is the single most important investment India must make to ensure its people and its businesses thrive tomorrow?
Okay, this might sound not like the most attractive solution, but really it's a critical one. And it's about investing in data. We know that it's all about investing in people. But to do that right, we need to know who's being left behind. or we need to know even who we're pushing behind by not fully investing in them. And that's where data becomes really powerful. So let me give you a few hard truths. A poor, rural, scheduled caste woman with no schooling is half as likely to get any care during pregnancy as an educated urban upper caste woman. So already that woman is falling way behind. And not only that, but her child will probably fall way behind just because of the conditions in which it comes into its life. And the second, unintended pregnancies are nearly 3 times as high amongst the poorest women. So again, these are kind of hard facts and data that shows a gap in services. And it's a gulf between those who are moving ahead and those who are left behind. So policies have to address in this way, and they can't be built on statistical or data averages because the averages hide the realities. And when we break that data down by caste or wealth, gender, geography, education, then we really start to see who's thriving and who's being left out. And this is why the smartest investment that India can make today is in better data systems.
Absolutely.
Ones that are people-centered, equity-focused, and disaggregated. This is really where we're going to find the most incremental value in terms of how we do policy design and where investments are made, given that resources are limited and we need to be very wise about how they are spent. The reality is there's no benefit to the country in leaving anyone behind. It will always be a drag, like an anchor on a boat that's trying to accelerate, and that boat will just get stuck and will be spinning its motor, but not moving ahead fast as it could. And the reality is, forward-looking Indian businesses know this. Investing in women's health and rights, it's not just a corporate social responsibility issue. It's really essential and core to productivity, to talent retention, and long-term growth. So that's my message to Indian businesses and to all who are looking to see the country move forward.
Well, Andrea, this was an extremely insightful conversation. It was a real pleasure to have you today with us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Ritwika.
With that, it's a wrap on this edition of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 13. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.